Excellency Deputy President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, Minister of Transport, Tipo Peters, Minister of Finance, Nhlanhla Nene, Gauteng Premier, David Makhura, senior government officials present with us, or Deputy Minister of Finance, I see seated down there, and Kevisi Jonas, and I see senior government officials, members of the media, our audiences coming through our broadcasters, SABC, ENCA, ANN7, and through community radio stations. Welcome, my name is Ronnie Mamwepa. I'm joined here by Cabinet Spokesperson Pumla Williams, who is going to also help us facilitate questions. And without much ado, I have the honor and privilege to invite the Deputy President to address us, and thereafter Pumla will facilitate the question and answer session. I thank you, Deputy President. The floor is yours.
Program Director, Premier of Gauteng, Mr. David Makhura, Minister of Transport, Ms. Deputy Peters, Minister of Finance, Mr. Nhlanhla Nene, members of the technical team from both Treasury, Transport, and Sandral, members of the media. I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to announce what we regard as far-reaching changes with regard to the implementation of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project. Today, we are announcing details of what we call a new dispensation for the new users of the Gauteng Freeway Network. We are announcing a dispensation that is fair, that is affordable, and that will be sustainable. This new dispensation is the product of extensive engagement between national government and the province of Gauteng, and was approved by the cabinet. Our engagement with the Gauteng provincial government was hugely enriched by the findings and the recommendations of the advisory panel that was appointed by Premier David Makhura in July of last year, 2014, to conduct a comprehensive impact assessment of e-tolls in the province. Following the work of the panel, findings were made, and they are based on thorough consultations with various stakeholders. Public meetings were held, research was conducted, and there were also roundtable discussions with experts who are well versed in transport and the economy, as well as the environment. It is worth recalling the findings of the advisory panel that was appointed by the Premier. Amongst other things, the panel found that the implementation of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project, GFIP as we call it, and e-tolls has actually hugely benefited the economy as well as the people of Gauteng through a better quality road system, a road system that has also reduced travel time, that has improved fuel efficiency on the part of the users of vehicles, that has also reduced vehicle operating costs and improved logistics efficiencies, particularly for those vehicles that carry goods around the province. There is general acceptance, the panel found, of the user pays principle. In the main, they found that, yes, people do believe that they should pay for using the service or the roads. This is what the panel found. It also found that in the current form, the e-toll system, though, placed a disproportionate burden on low and middle income households. This was raised sharply during the deliberations of the panel. The panel, however, made the following key recommendations: that elements of the current e-toll system should be reviewed to address the questions that were being raised by all and sundry with regard to affordability, equity, fairness, administrative simplicity, and sustainability. It also found, or recommended rather, that there should be a hybrid model that should be found that will include significantly reduced tariffs, monthly caps, and financial contributions that should be made by both levels of government, the provincial government, the Gauteng government that is, as well as the national government. The new dispensation that we are announcing today is a product of our engagement at national as well as provincial level through the engagement of our people from Treasury, Department of Transport, SANRAL also included in the mix, and the Gauteng government. This new dispensation addresses in a fairly comprehensive manner, as well as a balanced manner, the concerns that have been raised by our people in the province, in Gauteng and beyond. A fair dispensation is being put forward for all to ensure the e-toll system is equitable, affordable, and sustainable and more efficient. Cabinet has approved the following major improvements to the e-toll system. Firstly, public transport remains exempted. That is, buses and taxis with operating permits will be exempted from paying e-toll tariffs. So those people who travel in buses and taxis that have operating permits will not have to pay the e-toll tariffs at all, because those are specifically exempted. Secondly, a single reduced tariff will be applied to all motorists. As an example, the current standard tariff of 58 cents per kilometer for light motor vehicles will be reduced to 30 cents per kilometer. This is almost a 50% reduction. This single tariff will apply to all motorists within a vehicle class, whether they have an e-tag or they do not have an e-tag. Thirdly, a monthly cap has been dramatically reduced. Users of light motor vehicles will not pay more than 225 Rand a month. This is half the current monthly cap of 450 a month. In other words, whereas people were paying 450 Rand or having to pay a cap of 450, that has now been reduced to 225, which is quite a huge jump. Revised caps will also be introduced to other categories of vehicles, they being more heavy vehicles and trucks and what have you. But here we're specifically focusing on the bulk of the users who are ordinary people and users of light vehicles. There will be no change for infrequent users who make less than 30 gantry passes a year. If a user exceeds 30 gantry passes in a 12-month period, they will be liable for usual charges. That is, if you are going to come to Gauteng more than 30 times, then you will have to pay. But if it is less than 30 times, you will be exempted as well. E-toll fees that are currently outstanding will be discounted by 60%. Users will have 6 months within which to settle their debts dating back to December 2013 at the discounted tariff. This does not disadvantage users who have been paying e-tolls all along. In other words, we're discounting what people owe. It would not have been fair just to say those who have not been paying should no longer pay. But that, what they owe, is now discounted by 60% because we must all pay our debts. There will be a monthly cap on the penalty for accounts that are in arrears. All users who do not pay tolls within the required 30 days will be obliged to pay double the toll tariff. To protect users from incurring high amounts of debt, this will be kept. In the case of light motor vehicles, for example, the monthly cap for accounts in arrears will be 450 rand. Settlement of e-toll fees will be linked to the motor vehicle license renewal. To further simplify the process and ensure better integration of road management systems, motorists will need to settle any outstanding e-toll fees before vehicle license discs are issued. In other words, we're now creating a linkage between e-toll system as well as every car owner's and user's motor vehicle licensing renewal, which has to be done annually. More payment options and a simplified administration system are being introduced, alongside a substantial decrease in the cost to users. The new dispensation will integrate existing information systems to improve what we call the ease of use, to improve accuracy of information and coordination between different agencies. This will make it easier for vehicle owners to pay their toll fees at different points. These will include Sanral kiosks. In Gauteng, Sanral kiosks are all over. It will also include the post offices. It will also include provincial licensing offices. It will also include retailers where these payment points have been installed. It will also include vehicle dealerships, and it can also be done online. The significant reduction in tariffs and the new monthly caps will result in an annual estimated shortfall of 390 million rand in revenue, which revenue has to service the debt that Sanral has had to raise to construct all these roads. This shortfall, which amounts to 390 million rand, will be shared between the national government and the Gauteng provincial government. The new dispensation will be implemented in phases. The new cap and revised tariffs will be implemented in the next 2 to 3 months. Timelines for implementation for the rest of the changes are dependent on the legal and regulatory processes. An announcement in this regard will be made shortly. Regular updates will also be provided as the new toll system is developed. In the end, this new dispensation demonstrates that we are both a listening, a responsive, a caring, and a responsible government. It addresses the concerns of Gauteng motorists, particularly those from low and medium income households, but at the same time it ensures that our approach to the construction and maintenance of a road infrastructure is a sustainable one. We have reaffirmed the user pay principle as a fair, affordable, and reliable mechanism to fund infrastructure development. The new payment options safeguard the integrity of the fiscus, and it also enhances the ability of the South African National Roads Agency, SANRAL, to be able and to continue to raise funds to meet its obligations. And SANRAL's obligation is to roll out road infrastructure, not only in one province, but throughout the country. That is SANRAL's mandate. In order to do so, it requires funds. It will ensure that Gauteng has an excellent freeway network well into the future while reducing traffic congestion, reducing emissions, travel time, and travel costs. As government, we reaffirm our commitment to efficient, reliable, and integrated public transport infrastructure and services. This, we believe, is the backbone of a modern economy and is key to the integration of our cities. As we speak now, government is fast-tracking its program to expand our public transport system. The issue of public transport improvement has been raised by many of our people. It was also raised sharply during the processes of the advisory panel, and we will continue to pay attention to this important issue of improving our public transport system. The new dispensation demonstrates that cooperative governance does work indeed. There's been maximum cooperation between the Gauteng government and the national government. And I'd like to thank the officials of the Department of Transport, National Treasury, and the South African National Transport Roads Agency, and the Gauteng provincial government, who worked so hard to make this deal possible. We commend the advisory panel, which was led by Professor Mushen Kondo, whose findings and recommendations enriched and enabled us to take concrete steps to address the negative impacts of e-tolls. Through this panel, we've been able to bring about what we see as a great improvement to this whole project. We also thank the people of Gauteng for participating in the work of the advisory panel and making valuable proposals to address the problems. And through their participation, they made all these proposals and recommendations, and we can say today we have listened. Lastly, I wish to extend a special word of appreciation to Minister of Transport, Ms. Dipuo Peters, Minister of Finance, Mr. Nhlanhla Nene, and his Deputy Minister, and the Gauteng Premier, as well as MECs Barbara Creasy and Ishmael Vadi, for providing such able leadership throughout this complex and challenging process that was time-consuming and needed all those who were involved to spend a lot of time crunching numbers and looking at various options and proposals. We thank them dearly for a job well done. Finally, this new dispensation presents an opportunity for a fresh start for all of us. We call on the stakeholders, all stakeholders that is, to work with us to build an integrated, reliable, and affordable transport system that meets the needs of the people of Gauteng and indeed the country as a whole. This new dispensation demonstrates that the government is alive to the needs and the concerns of our people, and we can confidently say, together we can move South Africa forward as we are doing. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. Indeed, we're moving South Africa forward. I'm going to be handing over to Cabinet Spokesperson, as I said earlier, Pumla Williams, to help facilitate the question and answer session. Just to bring to your attention, the President and Ministers, that we are also linked to Pretoria, and we have our colleague, the Lekhadima Leso, to co-chair with us from Pretoria. And on that note, we thank the Deputy President for his address to us. Let's hand over to Pumla to facilitate questions.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. Can I do what I normally do, start with Pretoria, because you are here? Can I start with Pretoria? Lekhadima?
Thanks. There are a few questions. Please indicate who you are and the media house you represent when you ask a question. Thanks.
Antoinette Slavat from MoneyWeb. Can you just indicate the cap of 225? Does that apply to road users with and without the e-tag?
Next one.
Terence Creamer, Engineering News. Deputy President, if you could just talk to where the money will come from to cover the shortfall. Has it been already identified? And can you give some details as to how that will flow? And is that a yearly amount? And all this will rest on enforcement, but very few details today were given around enforcement. Can you give us some idea of what strategies are planned? What are the timeframes and when we will start seeing such enforcement? And finally, you're offering a 60% discount to those who have not paid their arrears. What about those that have been paying diligently? Do they get some sort of discount? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Acting Spokesperson. Those are the only two.
Thanks, Lekhadima. Can I then take a...
Hi, Chantal from the African News Agency. Just what has the buy-in been from groups like COSATU and OTA?
Yan, you are the next one.
Thank you. I'm covered by Chantal's question, but just one question of clarity, Pumla, through you to the Deputy President. For those infrequent users, you said it depended on the number of visits to Gauteng. As I understood it from the technical briefing, it's the number of gantry passes you do. So, for instance, if I go to Gauteng once and I drive from OR to Pretoria, I go through 4 of those gates, as I recall, and when I come back through another 4, but that would be 8, not 1.
Thank you. That's you.
Marina Lamprecht from Media 24 Newspapers. Under the new dispensation, how long do you propose will it take to settle all SANRAL's e-toll debts in years? Will it be shorter or longer or the same as previously? Thank you.
I think Carol, yeah. You.
Carol Payton from Business Day. Can you just clarify about the shortfall? You said it would be 390 million. Is that 390 million a month or 390 million a year? Is the 210 million per month stroke per year going to be paid by? I mean, I guess. Okay. So you said you're going to be. It's going to be paid by the fiscus. What makes you so sure that you're going to collect the other 390 million? Is that based on a 100% payment rate or on what sort of a payment rate? Because if it was me, I would just pay when I have to go renew my license, not before that. So I'm only going to pay in a year's time, maybe. So maybe you could just give us some clarity on the numbers, and then will SANRAL still have to go to the market to raise 600 million a month? Is this supposed to bolster, market confidence, and will SANRAL still have to raise 600 million a month in bonds? Thanks. And what about the other 4 billion that are bonds that are coming up as well? Thanks.
Okay. Yes.
Thanks, Pumla. Lester from ENCA. Deputy President, Ministers, Premier. I'm just looking at the legality of denying a road user their license disc, or the motorist's license disc, based on the non-payment. I'm looking at the legality of that. If that is the case, would you be introducing legislation to find congruency between the penalties of not paying your e-tolls and you obtaining a vehicle license? Thank you.
I think that, yeah, that's you, and then that's the two gentlemen. That's it. That would be it.
The Deputy President, I just wanted to find out whether or not this has been a political football. Well, firstly, as a responsive and a responsible government, does a government accept that its push to implement the SANRAILs, the toll road initially was economically flawed? If you can cut almost everything by a 50% basis, it means that you were punting it too high, and that might have scared off the users to paying. And as a this has become a political football. It has been for quite some time. With the local government elections next year, to what extent has that influenced any decisions that are being taken? And just as a point of clarity, is this a sort of a template that will be used for other toll roads that are being discussed and in other parts of the country? Sort of like the hybrid model, or is this specific to Gauteng, specific to this particular concession?
Thanks. I think I'm going to take two and then hand over to the Deputy President.
Matthew from Fin24. The changes obviously have to follow due legal process and regulatory requirements. If you can just speak about that and how long that process would take, and if that will delay anything.
Thomas Marie with CNBC Africa. In terms of the reduction of these tariffs and the reduction in the cap going forward, what impact does that have on SANRAL's projections going forward for how much revenue it can raise? And then secondly, the cost of collection. Do these new recommendations have any impact on the cost of collection, and what are those projections going forward?
Thank you. I think I'll hand over to the Deputy President.
Oh, I was saying these are like 14 questions, and the joy of having all these clever people. Where's the Deputy Minister? He's run away somewhere. and we've got technical people as well, Deputy Minister Jonas and the CEO and the Director General and all the officials in transport are all here. So they are more than able to answer many of the questions. What I'd like to do is just to ask, for instance, of the next few questions, Minister of Transport as well as the Minister of Finance and the Premier to take a number of these questions, and I will then come in and wrap up on areas that will require some further elucidation. Maybe, Minister of Transport, you want to start off with the first one of how this will apply with the cap, whether it will apply to those who have e-tags and non-e-tags as well. And then take a number of the others that you are well able to do so, and I'll come in later. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. I think on behalf of my colleagues and the Premier of Gauteng, Minister Nene, I need to take this opportunity to thank the Deputy President for his leadership as well as his capabilities as a negotiator to be able to get us to this point. Sir, you actually made it possible that we could be able to arrive at this new dispensation, and we truly thank you for your interventions and the time that you spent also making it possible that we can arrive at this particular point. The questions related to the 225 with or without e-tag, it is correct in the statement that the President indicated. He did make reference,
Deputy.
I mean the
Just to be sure. You said President.
Oh, the Deputy President. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what I was saying. The 225 is for those, the 225 rand cap is for those with or without an e-tag, but who will make it possible that they pay within 30 days of having passed through the country. Those who are actually going to delay in payments, you would remember that we actually indicated that the tag or the cap actually goes to about 450 rand per month. The issue related to enforcement, that is one of the key areas that we have said needs to be strengthened, and that is why the link to the licensing process. And I would also want to take this particular time, Deputy President, to go to the legality of the license disc issue. Yes, we are aware of the need to make it possible that we can address the legal requirements. You would realize that in terms of the implementation plan, we do have an indication of by which period we believe that we need to be able to have dealt with the legislative changes that will need to be followed. And in terms of the Deputy President's statement, he did indicate that every stage of the changes that will be done will be communicated so that people should know where exactly we will be. But we're also aware that we are in the process of amending the ARTO legislation, which is one of the instruments that we will use to make sure that we can enhance compliance. Is this a template for all other toll projects? I would say no, because I would believe that there is a process that we definitely follow up to the stages of determining or designating whatever project as a toll project. So we wouldn't say this is a template, because every project is a unique project. Deputy President, being...
of denying people, or you did cover?
Yes. I think I've covered the areas that definitely has a bearing on my area. Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Deputy President, and I'd also like to appreciate the work that my colleagues, the ministers, did together with us under your able leadership and the technical team from the different levels of government. I just want to deal with one specific issue about this matter having been a political football, or whether this has anything to do with local government elections. I want to say that we deal with issues that get raised by people, and communities don't raise issues because there are elections around the corner. And government, as this statement points out, government responds to issues after determining that there's validity. So that panel, the process of setting up a panel, the work that the panel did to assess the impact is the precise thing that has helped us to come to a determination. If the panel would have come to the conclusion that there's no need to worry, there's no negative impact, we wouldn't be where we are. So government works on the basis of evidence rather than whether there are elections around the corner or not. The reason we took up the issue and established the panel was precisely to determine if the evidence will suggest the need for government intervention to reduce the negative impact. So that's the reason why we have dealt with this matter. It's not based on whether the elections will always be there. We are a democracy.
Thank you. Thanks, Deputy President and colleagues. My simple ones are on where the money is going to come from. As we indicated, that the shortfall is the estimated annual shortfall of 390. That's not all. But we will be submitting to Parliament an appropriations bill, as we did indicate when we tabled our budget, because the matter was already before this committee of ministers led by the Deputy President, that we will be accommodating that in our budget. So we will bring that to Parliament, and that will then determine that the money comes out of the national budget, and the provincial government will do the same. So this will be shared amongst the two spheres of government. The other question that related to
you must also remember that this is not the first time that the national fiscus has actually had to come in. At the introduction of the system, we ended up having to appropriate 5.7 billion rands because of the delay in order to protect SANRAL's sustainability, but at the same time, as a country, remember SANRAL is a state-owned company. If we had not done that, we actually would have landed in more trouble than we are today. But we believe that this now deals with that part of restoring SANRAL's credibility, because there is certainty, firstly, on the matter, that we now have concluded the matter, which would then, I'm sure Nazir would also perhaps want to come in here, Deputy President, in responding to a question with regards to being able to go out to the market to borrow. But this is the first part of providing certainty that the entity is in good shape. We also saw that the other question had to do with whether this means that if you are able to cut it by 50%, does it mean that the system was flawed? In my view, as we've indicated, all these concessions have been done in the interest of making sure that the system is able to assist us in providing us with adequate revenue and support in order to continue with our roads infrastructure build program. What this might mean is that we would not have adequate to be able to roll out going forward, but sustainability in terms of SANRAL. In my view, I think the system is not flawed. Remember also that this was the first of an urban road being tolled and electronically tolled. You will realize that once South African citizens have paid the price of labor pains in getting into the electronic and digital age, we will realize that when you get to a toll gate where there is the manual and the one where you pay with your credit card and where you can use your e-toll, I'm sure all of us in this room will choose the one where you use your e-toll because it's much more convenient, easier, and would be the most, would do the one that fits the 21st century better than having to pay and wait for your change and your receipt. So I would want to believe that these indeed were labor pains for moving into the digital age, but I think we would be able to move forward now that we've reached this point. Thank you. And perhaps Nazir would want to add on and if there's anything else on the technical side. Yeah,
I'd like to say that if we are doing something that addresses the concerns of our people, that's what we should focus on, rather than saying what you were doing was flawed. What we're doing is doing the right thing to address the needs and the concerns of our people. And that to us is the primary issue. And as we do this, we're not even beginning to focus on elections. We're focusing on governance and delivering a better life for our people. That is our main preoccupation. The elections are only next year. It is only next year that the ruling party, as indeed other parties, will focus on elections. What we are doing is to govern and to make sure that we achieve the objectives of the ruling party of delivering a better life for our people and moving our country forward for all and sundry. Do we have the buy-in of various other components of our people, formations and what have you, like COSATU, the ruling party, which is not sitting here, has been at work consulting and talking to a number of formations about this. As you said, I wouldn't say it was a political football. It was a matter that was of great concern to our people. And today, we believe we have delivered a new dispensation that addresses the concerns that have been raised by our people. Yes. Has COSATU been consulted? Yes. Have a number of other bodies? Yes. Has OUTA been consulted? They will have had all this as well. So, yes, this is now out in the open, and we hope and trust that people will see this as a really positive step towards addressing the concerns that were raised by our people. Through this, we believe that SANRAL will be able to go out into the market and raise money. Will there be an enforcement? I'd rather call it compliance rather than enforcement. Linking the e-toll process with the vehicle car registration is a good way of encouraging people to pay. People through the advisory panel said, yes, we are not resisting to pay. We believe in the user pay principle, and what this does, rather than harm on enforcement, is to bring about ease of payment, ease of administration, to make sure that people have, if you like, one stop at which they will be able to effect payment. As it is now, we will be calling on all our people as we start the campaign to get people to familiarize themselves with this. We'll be asking them to go and update their records. They can go and update their records at the SANRAL kiosks. Yes, they can go and update their records at the licensing authority, the post office. The post office will need to integrate their own IT system with what we are announcing today. They can go and update their records online. They can also do it at the various retail shops where SANRAL has a facility. So this is an all-inclusive, fairly comprehensive, reliable type of dispensation that we are putting forward, and affordable, and a system that is going to make it a lot easier for all our people. I think that covers all, if not every question that has been raised.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. I think we have covered. I'm going to entertain one who hasn't asked, Carol. I think you'll excuse me, but I think if one just has to say that.
Yes, you've been watching the announcement by Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa on the strategy to get e-tolls going as well.
Have asked, I will just entertain the two gentlemen and we will then close it.
My name is Manilis Tubasa from the SABC. Mine is just a clarity, Minister. I hear that you'll be bringing the appropriations bill soon to address this shortfall. It gives me an indication that we are talking about hard cash here. I thought that we were talking about guarantees. Can you clarify that?
There's a question also, Victoria.
Thanks. Mike Cohen from Bloomberg News. Just in a technical briefing, we heard of a figure of between 600 and 700 million rand that was a possible shortfall. Can you just reconcile that to the 390 million rand that you've just mentioned? And could you give us an estimate of what the outstanding amount is on e-tolls that have still not been paid, and how much has been collected thus far? Thanks.
Well, I'll take the one last in Pretoria, as I believe there's one. Lechadima?
Good afternoon. It's Anton Meyer from Jacaranda FM. I would just like to find out for how long the new rates will be in effect, and will there be an annual review or an increase in the rates as we have with traditional toll gates? And then my other question is, will the new dispensation have any effect on the cost of collection and the cost of administration of accounts? Thank you.
If I may also ask, Minister Peters, you referred to R2, and your department has also announced that R2 will be introduced countrywide on the 1st of April of next year. Does that mean that enforcement by the Criminal Procedures Act will not take place anymore, and the system will rely on R2 alone?
Thank you. I think those are the last. Okay.
Last ones in Pretoria.
Okay. Thank you. Deputy President, those are the last questions. 4 questions.
Thank you very much. My apologies, I didn't hear the other question before the criminal procedure one. But just to go back to the bigger challenge that we have with regard to road infrastructure backlogs, I just want to remind our ladies and gentlemen from the media that you all know that we've got about 750,000 kilometers of road network that needs about 197 billion rand. And we should not lose sight of that fact on the conditions of our roads in the country. And that is why the statement of the President actually indicated that we are accelerating the rollout of infrastructure development. The question related to how much has been collected, I believe the Minister Minister of Finance will talk to that one. One of the key things that emanated from the process of this consultation and is related to the matter of law enforcement and how we could be able, through this process, avoid criminalizing people. And that is why we have decided that the best option to take is to make it possible that this becomes one of those traffic or traffic infringements that can be covered under ARTO. So I would want to say to you that that is one of the areas that we have listened to and one of the strengths of this new dispensation. And thanks to the Deputy President, we could be able to arrive at that particular point.
Thank you. Indeed, Manelisi, we're talking hard cash. It is for that reason that we actually have to come to Parliament, and that is for that reason also that we made an announcement, but because we had not arrived at the amount. And as I said also, that the amount is the 390 is just only as a result of the reduction of the tariffs. But there are also additional revenue losses which come as a result of the reduced penalties and the uniform tariffs, which takes it to that 600 to 700 million rands. But the one we are talking about is 390, which will be shared amongst the national and the provincial legislature. We will explain when the bill is tabled before Parliament, because you don't want to preempt that process, but it will be hard cash.
Thank you very much. At this point, I will hand over.
There was a question on the cost of collection. Yeah, okay. The Premier volunteers to deal with.
I think all collection methods have various costs attached to them. Administrative costs, including if you go and renew your license. There's things that are normal. And those things would be, those costs are usually built into any system. So we are quite alive to that, including that even the current system. Sandral will tell you that the advantage with those who are in their system already is that those costs would be lower. So every other system, if you go and pay for any government bill at Pick and